Bunker Office Hours, a weekly live show brought to you by the team at Bunker Labs, a national network of veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs dedicated to growing our ecosystem. I'm your host, the one and only Iron Mike Steadman, coming to you from the beautiful city of Newark, New Jersey, joined by my co-host, Amy Warrington, who's looking lovely today for Halloween. She's all in the spirit. And our guest today, Erika Andresen from EaaS Consulting. Did I get that right?
You sure did.
Awesome. We got a great topic for you today. It's about adulting in your business, which I know a lot of y'all need to do. I'm guilty of it too. I was thinking to myself this morning, like, Mike, you got to be more disciplined. Got to be an adult. So I'm excited to talk to her about what she's doing and what she's learned, because particularly a lot of you all tuning in are trying to scale up and grow in your businesses. And so you can't treat it like an undisciplined baby. You got to be an adult about it. So we're going to get into that today. So before we do that, let me go ahead and pass it over to Amy to share any updates that are taking place in the bunker.
Oh, okay, hold on. Thing doesn't want to work today. Okay, there we go. So this week we got some new stuff going on. So a lot of previews actually. So first up, we are previewing our holiday gift guide. So this is the 4th year we've showcased our community of veteran and military spouse product businesses. And we have 75 products this year. And so you can get a kickstart on your holiday shopping. And also some are offering a 20% discount for Bunker Community. And so you can check that out at bunkerlabs.org/marketplace-2023. I don't know why I can't talk today. So next up, we've got VIR applications open tomorrow. So you can get more information about the 16-week program at bunkerlabs.org/veterans-in-residence. So applications are going to be open through November 26th for that one. And then last but not least, just a heads up that Veterans in Residence Showcase is coming up. So it's a week-long series of events across the nation, December 4th through December 8th. Looks like we've got 26 cities and probably at least one virtual. So you can RSVP for an event near you at bunkerlabs.org/veteran-showcase. And that is what we got going on this Halloween. And
man, we're getting a lot. We're getting a lot of love in the chat already, Amy. Shout out to Don, Natasha. Good to see everybody. Yeah, make sure y'all get out and about in the community. Let me tell y'all, last week, right, and I just wrote about this, I went to the IVMF Military Entrepreneurship Forum, and it was on a Wednesday, and it was all day. Now, like a lot of y'all out there, I had stuff to do, right? But let me tell you, getting from behind these screens, getting in person, breaking bread, it's super crucial, especially now. Because entrepreneurship can be very lonely, and a lot of y'all are sitting behind your computers in your little caves. Bunker is out there. So I want you to get out and start connecting with each other in your local community. Pay attention to these events, because you can only do so much by yourself. You need to get out there, and you need that positive energy from your ecosystem. And if you ain't got veterans around, get out there and embrace the just broader entrepreneurial ecosystem. It helps. Trust me. All right. In rant, it's Erika. Welcome to Office Hours. What's going on?
Thank you, Mike. I did want to point out, you talked up Amy's appearance for Halloween, but I am in my Freddy Krueger top for today. It's actually not a Freddy Krueger sweater. It's a $5 velour sweater I got in the Salvation Army, New York City years ago. So I am spirited as well.
Love it. I'm in my operator outfit. I got my little hat. Y'all can't see I'm wearing flip-flops, because y'all know operators, they don't wear sneakers. They love to wear flip-flops. So here we are. So, Erika, talk to our listeners. First, let's go ahead and introduce yourself to them and talk to them about how you came up with this idea about adulting in your business and the why behind it.
Okay, so Erika Andresen, EaaS Consulting, and EaaS stands for Erika as a Service. It's my play on software as a service, because you get me and my expertise. Now, one of the things that I think going to my why makes transitioning to what I do an easier thing. So I was asked in a chat group once for networking, can a business owner be everything and everywhere all at once? And people took that quite literally. And they were like, well, no, that means you're multitasking. You're not really doing everything right. Someone's like, oh, but you can. If you have social media presence, your presence is, perpetual. And I went, well, I think so, because if I can impart knowledge on a business owner and empower them, then what the chain reaction is as a result of that is what makes me be everything and everywhere all at once. So I endeavor to educate business owners who are dreamers about business continuity to keep their dream alive. And in why they can keep the dream alive, they can service the community and enhance the community, plus pay all their employees money so they can pay for the necessities and the things that keep them happy and make their life enhanced, which they get from other businesses who are also dreamers, who also have employees. It's a beautiful cycle to be part of. And when a business dies, not only does it have a detrimental impact to the community at large because there's no longer a service available, but to the business owner themselves, they don't have a job anymore. They don't have money. They can't take care of their family. Neither does anybody that worked for them. And if there are things I can tell you to prevent that, then please let me. So that's what I do, basically. I keep dreams alive.
So let's make it plain for people. When you say business continuity, what do you mean by that?
So that is at base doing risk management plus. So you will do all the risk management, but risk management does not eradicate risks. It just mitigates risks. And business continuity picks up where risk management fails. So an example I like to use as an analogy, if you are going from point A to point B, if you do risk management, you have an overlay map of the road, the 2-lane highway with all the potholes, so you know where to miss. And if there's suddenly a rock slide or an accident or cattle on the road and you can't continue, business continuity is when you pull over, pop open your trunk, pull out the asphalt and the shovel because you've prepared, fill in the pothole and carry on your merry way. So you still get to your goal. It's really just making sure that you're always operational to some level so you can stay in business and keep the cash flow going. And this is based on either a disaster can do this and talk about a natural disaster or a man-made disaster or a disruption, which can be negative or positive. A negative disruption would be a key piece of machinery stopping working, a key leader leaving either because they left or they died. It could also be business growth too quickly. So business continuity allows you to grow securely. If you grow too fast, you don't have the ability to take on the clients that you want. You can't service them the way that you need to. There's a whole bunch of things you're not thinking of that I think about all the time. Literally, I'm the biggest nerd on this stuff. So when I talk to people, I'm like, did you think about this? Did you think about this? Did you think about this? And a lot of it is stuff that you're doing by muscle memory or you don't really think of because it's so ingrained or it's minute to you. But I'm like, well, there's a failure point there that you're missing that could really mess you up.
Okay, so we have a lot of early stage founders tuning into this podcast, and they are trying to prioritize, where they're spending their time, effort, and resources. Okay, so you got, they're trying to chase customers, they're trying to stay alive, they're trying to worry about cash flow and stuff, etc. So let's use me as an example. Started Ironbound Media as a podcast production company, expanded into more brand strategy firms. And so if we start thinking about continuity, what would that look like?
Well, so the first thing I would ask you is what is it you need to run your business every single day? And then what does it look like if you didn't have that? Take one of those pieces away or take two away at the same time. So as a lot of us military members know, because we call it in the military continuity of operations. We already know how to do this. We just have to apply it to business. So when you think about if you're at NTC doing a training exercise and you have these injects that are all of a sudden saying, okay, now you've got rocket fire. Now you've also, this doesn't work anymore. What are you going to do? It's testing your business, but doing it in advance. You're doing the mental exercise of, okay, this is what you need. What if you didn't have this? What if you didn't have that? So for you, it would be, how are you actually broadcasting? What is the software you're using? Are you using one internet connection? Using two internet connections? Do you have different service types you can use? So I lost my internet service this weekend, but my phone is different from my internet service. So I was able to use my hotspot off my phone to still conduct business. Something like that, simple stuff.
Got it. So the Marine in me is hearing primary, secondary, and tertiary. And we have exactly that because guess what? Sometimes we're recording podcasts with our clients. Squadcast ain't running. Roll the TAC 2, then we jump on Riverside. Riverside ain't working. Pop that Red Star cluster. Boom. You're recording on Zoom. And yes. So it's a process thing. And even you talking about it, I'm thinking for our listeners about identifying those points of friction, right? Where there's a potential chance for error. And if that error happens, you start actually losing money. So in my case, like recording the podcast, the actual physical session where somebody shows up to record their show. Another thing that my mind is starting to go to is innovation, right? So one of the things that we all need is healthy cash in our businesses at all times. But the world of business is not, how do I say this? You can't just run the same play all the time. This ain't Navy football, option up the middle, 10 times in a row. After a while, it gets stale and you've got to innovate. So what does innovation look like when you start talking about continuity?
Well, that's actually a lot of what business continuity does. It enables you to be agile and to innovate. It challenges you early to think about this stuff. So your creativity level is already operating at a higher level because you're like, if this fails, then what? So take away even the biggest part of your business. What are you going to do next? So is it possible? Let's say, for example, I'll use a really extreme example. Tony Robbins. Most people in the world know who Tony Robbins is, this motivational speaker. His business is him. If he dies, what happens? How does that look? Does his business just wind down because people are not interested if it's not Tony Robbins? Or does it keep continuing with a library of books and videos that he's amassed over the years to keep taking in money? Or can somebody else deliver the content? Can they learn about that? So this is all stuff where this is a pivot where the key person who is the identity of the business no longer exists. You have to think about ways that's going forward. Now with the pandemic, the problem with the pandemic is people had to pivot very quickly. And part of pivoting quickly, if you hadn't done, like schools, for example, so colleges were doing online courses and some high schools were, but middle schools absolutely were not. And when they went to go online, because they didn't have the experience, they left a lot of vulnerabilities open and they were very susceptible to cyber attacks. And that's the thing too. If you're pivoting quickly, you're probably doing it sloppy because you don't know what you need to do. So people have now rested on their laurels. They've adopted early. They're like, oh no, we're good. We've done this. And it's like, no, go back and see that you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed. So it's not a problem going forward. And this is what the adulting is. It's not sexy stuff. I know this. Everybody's like, oh, marketing, I got to, 10x my profit with 5 bullet points. You cannot do that. If you could, everybody would do it. That's marketing for marketing. I can promise you that you can navigate volatility, you can grow your business in any environment, and you can successfully recover when things go wrong with 1 bullet point. And that 1 bullet point is investing in business continuity.
So obviously there's been a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, right? Some of the stuff that was working 2 years ago is no longer working for a lot of these business owners. Social media is the freaking Wild West. Twitter ain't even a thing no more. Now it's called X, right? And so what are you seeing out there? What are the challenges from the business owners you're talking to are facing, from AI to social media? Like, what are the trends?
So I had somebody ask me this yesterday. She does what she services her clients is pretty much QC of things they're creating. And she realized as she's going through it, she's like, oh, I'm not just QCing, I'm actually creating the product, because she realized the entire thing was written by ChatGPT. And if you are putting forth a product, I have ethical issues with ChatGPT, because it's one thing, it's a great tool for summarizing, not for producing. There was an issue with a law firm. They used ChatGPT to do a motion. They asked it, are the cases you're citing real cases? And by the way, I'm a former corporate lawyer and I was a JAG, so like legal's also my realm. And ChatGPT is like, yes, these are real. So they submitted the motion without actually looking at it. They didn't check anything themselves. And then the judge was like, I can't find these cases. And they were like, oh yeah, so AI wrote it. And they got sanctioned for that. So the concern is what is actually being produced. And there was somebody who they asked ChatGPT to write an exercise. And the first thing it wrote was start a small fire. And it's like, no, we don't do that. We don't start small fires in buildings. It's not smart enough, first of all. And I think the thing, especially with something like business continuity, it doesn't understand nuance. It doesn't understand, like, if it's based off of what you are doing, it's based off of, it learns from you. If it's, doing your product, you cannot edit your own paper. You don't know what your blind spots are. So having something from the outside point things out to you, or somebody from the outside, that's really what's important.
But are you seeing a lot of business owners worried about it and stressed about it? Because even at the IVMF event I mentioned before, they mentioned a panel of some of the Fortune 50 companies that are leading the way in disruption. And one of the things that they are all backing is like AI is going to be this big disruptor. And the reason I ask this question is because you have a lot of small businesses that are still in the process of becoming tech enabled. They have Zoom, they might have their CRM, but now there's all these new technologies that are starting to roll out, and it can feel like, how do you keep up?
It is daunting. That is also part of the, so when When I say if you're early adopter, that's the problem. People want to sign on to something really quickly before they've actually experienced it and understand it, and then don't understand. Like, so with QR codes, for example, that is a technology that people adopt. Like, oh, my business card is a QR code. Everything is a QR code. But the FBI, go to the FBI's website for Google FBI QR code. There is a severe vulnerability with that, because what they'll do, if it's from a free site, a free QR code producer, they have hackers who've gone in to redress the QR code to go to a malicious site, which will then upload malware into your phone and pretty much brick your phone unless you pay them. Now, people's lives are on their phone. Another thing is if if it's hung up as a poster somewhere, they'll actually put something over the QR code again. So you take a picture of it, it sends you to a site that's not the site it's intended to. So trust me, criminals are very, very, very smart, but they're also lazy. They're going to want to do the thing that's easiest. And every single type of technology that comes in, if everyone's like, yes, I want to get on that. Yes, I want to get on it. Kind of like when I talked about the schools pivoting to Zoom too quickly, they don't know the vulnerabilities that are left open. And you're very, very, very likely to get attacked and have some kind of disruption having your business if you adopt it too quickly. I like a wait and see approach. I like to see, it's like, okay, how is this playing out? What has really gone on here? As opposed to being like, what? Oh my God, this happened. What do I do now? What do I do now? I have to fix it. I have to fix all this now. Just wait. You don't have to jump on the bandwagon. It's fine. Give it a chance, see a couple of iterations of it, and then adopt it at that point if it makes sense.
So I'm going to go ahead and go to the chat for any questions. Y'all, Erika's time is worth $10,000 a minute. So if you got a question about business continuity and adulting in your business in general, please feel free to go ahead and drop it in the chat. Let's take advantage of her while she's here as our guest. And while I'm waiting for that, Erika, is there a simple framework you can leave our viewers with as they think about business continuity in their own business?
Yeah, start thinking about, like, go through the process of, first and foremost, going through who are your POCs for every service that you have. So if your computer's down, who is the person you need to contact? If you have to make an insurance claim, get all that information down offline, because if your computer goes down or you don't have internet, you want to have access to the information to help yourself. And then also have hard copies of everything that you need to run your business. So you want to make sure that your formation documents exist somewhere outside of your laptop, for example, because you want to be able to have access to that in the event that you need to apply for something and you're like, I don't know where this is. You need to be able to prove who you are. So having those key documents and then figuring out who your POCs are for everything and have that written down in advance, that's a big first step to getting a lot of adulting done in advance of you having an issue. Because trust me, I know somebody who was put in Facebook jail and her business existed only on Facebook, but she was in Facebook jail for 30 days and she could not contact anybody. So people are like, did she disclose? Did she disappear? She did not save any of her contacts offline. Do not leave everything online. Do not. That's another thing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I've been encouraging people to build their own email list. I don't care if you got 100 or whatever, because you do not own these social platforms. So if they drop tomorrow or something crazy happens, how do you have your own list of contacts? And something you said I thought was interesting was, maintaining those points of contacts at companies. And one of my old companies called NextJump, they host a leadership academy. And one of the reasons they do this leadership academy is usually like a couple times a year, is because at a lot of companies, the C-suite is constantly changing. It's constantly rotating. And so their leadership academy is a way for them to stay top of mind as a value add, which they provide to their existing clients for free to create that redundancy. So when it comes time to re-up in their contract, nobody's like, why the heck are we paying this vendor over here? Who are these people? Instead of like, oh, we go to their leadership academy every quarter. We send our representatives and stuff. They're great value add, etc. So that's a great way to kind of start to innovate. Like you say, maybe do a free webinar. You do something to stay top of mind. Now, Steven has a question. He goes, Erika, can you talk a little bit about the importance of succession/delegation, even for small businesses? Disruption can be both external and internal.
Right. So succession is important because you can't, it's one of the single points of failure that smaller businesses have. If it's just one person, and I know it's really hard for us, we're all control freaks. We want to be able to do everything ourselves. We don't trust. If you don't have something where you have it in line for somebody else to actually complete the task, the basic operations of the business, then it's going to be very difficult for the business itself to continue. I'm forgetting. I see Steven's question, so I'm gonna go reference it again because my head goes a lot faster than my mouth, and my mouth does talk pretty quick. 'Cause I'm from New York City, but give me a second. Small business disruption. Yeah. So one of the disruptions I'd been asked about in an interview a couple of months ago was the disruption of people poaching knowledge workers from a business and what happens at that point. So in the military, this is something that we have always done. And I'm going to speak for the Army because I'm an Army vet. I don't know if I'm sure the other branches would, because it would make sense. We do continuity books. So when we're leaving to PCS, we create a book of all the stuff that we need to do our job. So the next person who comes in at least has a leg up to do their job. Civilian world does not do this. The civilian business world does not do this. And they're kind of left and they're shell shocked when that person leaves with all that institutional knowledge. And then someone is like, I got to come in and start from nothing. So they're actually hindering their business from moving forward because they now need to wait for somebody to learn from Adam, basically from Genesis, on how to even get caught up to speed without having those tools. So that is part of succession planning. That's really important.
That's great. And I'll add this context. Even for small businesses, you're going to want to travel. Right? You're going to want to go places. You might be off the grid. So you do need some level of continuity to keep the train moving. So one thing I'm a bullish advocate of is getting some kind of virtual assistant, because a lot of times for small business owners, that serves as that chief of staff. And the other thing that's going to happen is most of us are visionaries, Erika. So we start businesses, we're off to the races. A lot of us aren't the best at creating systems and processes, So you know what we need? We need an integrator. And so an early stage integrator, that's why I like that virtual assistant. But then you might need to go out and hire an ops person or something. And what's happening now with the technology from Zoom and Loom, et cetera, is even if you're not the best at creating the little SOPs, you can just capture, like, hey, here is how I put together my newsletter. You record it on Loom and then you send it to someone and then they repeat the process, right?
Yes,
so
that's the adulting. That's the adulting. That's doing the check.
Yeah.
That is, if you don't have to do a full SOP, just do a checklist. So you can be like, I'm going to go on vacation and actually enjoy it. Here, this is what you need to do while I'm gone. If none of this makes sense or something terrible happens that does not do this, call me. But I want to go enjoy my pina colada on the beach and not think about this. And that is also what business continuity endeavors to do, allow you to go on vacation and not worry about it.
Yeah. So we're going to transition to book recs real quick. Erika, I know you have a book yourself that you've written.
I do.
Please go ahead and plug it for our viewers.
Okay, I have it. So appropriate for the theme of Halloween, how to not kill your business. It's grow your business in any environment, navigate volatility, and successfully recover when things go wrong. It has a music theme. I wrote it in a conversational tone, first of all. So not a lot of industry jargon. Even other continuity professionals like, why didn't you say this? I'm like, because that's not how normal people speak. But every chapter is a song title, and the lyrics of a song forecast the theme of the chapter. So there's David Bowie, whose song Scary Monsters and Super Creeps is chapter 2, again, appropriate for today. There's Rolling Stones, Nine Inch Nails, Wu-Tang Clan, Foo Fighters, U2, just to name a couple. And it's available on Amazon in both the Kindle format and paperback. There is a worksheet at the back. So to help you with a very rudimentary business continuity plan, there you go. If all you got is $20 or $5 to spend on business continuity, there you go.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard was it writing that book?
You're going to hate me for saying this. Not that hard. I thought about it a lot. And then when I reverse engineered the date I wanted to release it, I was like, okay, I got to do promotion. I got to do book formatter. I got to do book editing. Oh God, I got 2 weeks to write this book in order to get it. And that's the thing. The thing about writing a book is you don't have to write it linearly. You have to just get writing done. So I think the first thing I wrote was the acknowledgments. And then I wrote the back of the book. And then I went to the introduction. And then I hated writing chapter 4. It's very hard. Trust me, it's taxing on your brain to translate something from industry jargon to normal speak. And chapter 4, I hated writing for that very reason. So I like do two paragraphs and be like, let me go do something else. you don't have to write a book linearly. So I actually finished I finished 2 days earlier than I planned on it.
That's great. Writing my book calls damn near existential crisis. I was like, I gotta get it done. I gotta get it done. I'm not plugging it, but here's my book too, Black Veteran Entrepreneur. But it was
I actually
grind.
I do have another book that's not mine that I think is a good book. So when I was training for the Chicago Marathon, which I ran earlier this month, all my long runs, I was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall, and his business mind, insane. Really? Yeah, he made his first $1 million, not from weightlifting, not from acting, but from business. He has a phenomenal business mind, and he keeps talking, like, it's so clear throughout the entire book. So it's not just about the movies. There's so much about him as a person that's like super inspiring, especially for business owners.
Roger that. I'm gonna check that book out. And I don't have a book rec today. My recommendation is Earn Your Leisure podcast. I'm a big fan of that platform. I've been listening through it all throughout the pandemic. I don't listen to every episode, but they have a lot of they just have a lot of great interviews. People go a little bit deeper, which I like about it. And I recently listened to the episode with Damon John, the founder of FUBU, For Us By Us, is a clothing brand that took off in the 90s, and just kind of hearing his story about what he did right, what he did wrong, the evolution of Shark Tank. It was just a great episode. So check out the Earn Your Leisure podcast. I'm a big fan of it, and support. And before I let Erika close us out by leaving some words of encouragement and how you can reach out to her, for those of you tuning in, go ahead and let me know what topics you would like me to personally cover on the Transition podcast. I've been soliciting for topics that I know a lot of y'all are struggling, trying to get a grasp on. So if I can be a value add on the show, I would love to know what those are. So let me know what topics or what are keeping you up at night, and I'm going to cover it on the podcast. Erika, how can people find out more about you if they want to reach out? And also, what words of encouragement do you have for our viewers?
Okay, so the first thing I would say, you can find almost everything about me on my website, which is www.eaasc.com. It's a clearinghouse. There's links for my book there. I have a 12-week course on how to build a business continuity plan. I have just my general service there, all my other podcast appearances, and my blog. You can find me on LinkedIn. But here's the thing, I'm a big stickler about this. If you find me on LinkedIn, don't just connect request. You have to send me a message, because I make them real connections. I don't just, everyone's like, why don't you have 500 people? I'm like, because I actually talk to everybody that I'm connected with. So don't just connect, send me a message too. And I think I would say, for advice, one of the things I used to say is I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, because I would keep changing. So I was a corporate lawyer, and then I joined the JAG Corps. And then from there, I, left and thought I was going to do, well, I left during the pandemic, which was a mistake, but maybe not. Like, the universe works in funny ways. And everything that I did, I changed my mind. I kept changing my mind. It wasn't I was changing my mind. I was just evolving more into who I was meant to be at that moment. So whatever you're doing in your business now, it's not flippant. It's your passion. It's who you're meant to be. It's everything that you've worked for and who you've become now. So my thing too is, now an extra plug. You've worked so hard to do this. Help me help you keep it alive.
Love it. Well, we appreciate having you on. We went ahead and put a link to your website in the chat. So feel free to reach out to her. And if you add her, remember, make sure you send her a message. So I'm going to do that as soon as we jump off. And also purchase her book. We got people in the community doing great stuff. We've got to show up for them. And so she's got a great resource there. So show her some love and leave a review. For all our viewers as well, I want to acknowledge our sponsors for the Transition podcast, which is the MetLife Foundation for making it possible. Got some great episodes on there. And again, I want to hear from you. Go ahead and drop your comment in the chat, or message me directly on LinkedIn at Iron Mike Steadman of what topics you would like me to cover on the show. So until next time, everyone, peace, love. Have a great rest of your week.